Welcome to the Raise Your Bars podcast, where it's all about elevating your life one step at a time. With your hosts, Chris Baker and Al Rattan. Together, we're here to guide you through the transformative journey of self-improvement and success. Have you ever wondered what behaviors and actions you need to change to achieve the results and success you desire in life? Well, you're in the right place. Each episode, we dive deep into the strategies, mindset shifts, and practical steps you can take to raise your bars. From personal development to professional growth, Chris and Al share their expertise, experiences, and the occasional tough love, all designed to empower you to reach your full potential. So, whether you're looking to make a big change or simply fine-tune your path to success, grab a seat and let's raise those bars together. Now, let's welcome your hosts, Chris Baker and Al Rattan.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another edition of the Raise Your Bars podcast. It's Al Rattan here with my good friend Chris Baker. Chris, is actually we had a break last week because you were in sunny California.
It was sunny, actually. Yeah, a little bit cooler than Florida, but not too bad. It was a sunny trip. So yeah, I was doing some training over there and teaching new leaders, which it's always fun and exciting to do that. You know, see their awareness and recognition and just growth even in 2 days of training. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's great. And you know what? It's so cool to hear from some of the feedback you were sharing from with me about what the people are saying about the programs that you're doing there at Disney. Yeah. And even for myself today, I got an email from a past client saying, hey, we want to put another 20 people through the DISC model of human behavior workshop that you've done with us in the past with different groups in their organization. Yeah. And they got about 20 people on the sales side of the business that they want to put through that in February. So I'm like, oh, perfect. I love that. You know, so it's always great to get those calls from past clients and saying, hey, we want to hire you again. It makes me feel like maybe I did something right.
Sure you did.
So, hey, Chris, something interesting happened in the US last week.
I certainly did.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we aren't gonna talk necessarily politics here tonight. We're going to take a little break from going deep dive into Chris's book and just talk about some of the stuff that went on last week. And we're not going to talk politics specifically. We're not going to talk one political party versus another political party specifically. We're going to talk in broader terms. And I was just thinking today as we were, you know, because if you've listened to our podcast for any length of time, you know that we sort of just pick a topic out of the air and discuss it, or in this case, the last few weeks going through Chris's book and deep diving into it. But the word unity came to mind.
Yeah.
And I have to say, watching the video of the incoming leader and the outgoing leader at the Oval Office, there was unity there. I was actually very impressed at the level of respect and the conversation that they have, parts I've seen. Mm. However, leading up to today, the last 4 months, you know, last year actually in the US, and then even here in Canada, we have an election next year, actually could be called at any time, depending on what they call a non-confidence motion of the government, which is possible because we have a minority government in place right now. So it could be called earlier than that, but the unity seems to be non-existent these days, especially in the world of politics. And then it pours over into our personal and business lives because it is a polarizing topic. Back in the day, they said never talk about politics and religion at work or with family. And now that seems to be all we can focus on because it's so center of attention.
Yeah.
And so when I say, unity, Chris, what's the first thing that comes to your mind as it relates to the events that have unfolded in the US over the last year leading up to this November 5th, and also, the stuff that's going on in Canada right now? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, unity to me is just all like coming together, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I live in the United States of America, and it is anything but united. And unity doesn't mean that we all have to agree on everything. At the end of the day, we live in a country with free speech. We live in a democracy where we are allowed and expected to vote for what we believe is right and wrong. But unity should be then the acceptance of the majority decision and pulling together for the good of mankind to make life better.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I'm just like naive or simplistic or whatever, but that's what it means to me, right? We're one.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It used to be, and I mean, honestly, I still have a few friends like this where you could disagree on a political viewpoint and still get along, and we just choose not to talk about that. Or if we do talk about that, we share our opinions and go, okay, great, thank you for sharing that with me, and then we move on.
Yeah.
However, now it's become such a polarizing aspect or part of our culture that it is really dividing nations and dividing families. Some of the things I've seen, and whether you're Democrat or Republican or Canada here, conservative or liberal, I mean, if the opposite party wins, okay, let's move on, right? But to hear people like breaking up with partners because they voted for the other guy, or shaving their head because somebody got in versus somebody else that didn't get in.
Yeah.
Really, at the end of the day, what purpose is that doing? And also from the opposite side in this case, saying we will fight, we will do everything we can to make sure that policies don't get. And at the end of the day, well, 4 years ago, the other side lost, and they had to put up with the policies and everything that came in, and then the people decide, right? And the people spoke.
Yeah.
And that's the way the elections work. And now they have to live with it. In 2 years, in your country, at least in 2 years, they get an opportunity to change some stuff with the midterm elections. In Canada, that doesn't happen. It's every 4 years. We have the government we have every 4 years, unless they're a minority government and the other political parties team up to topple them. And then we call another election and do it all over again.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's sad to me. And it actually breaks my heart, honestly, to see a civilized society. We'll use that term civilized loosely in this case, a civilized society choosing the side so strongly that if you're on the other side, you're evil, you are, retarded, you are, deficient in some way because you believe those other values. But again, in this case, I mean, 74 million people voted for the person that got in, and the other person got 69 million votes. What are you going to do?
I know.
74 million people wanted it.
Well, and here's the thing, and this is not an American, a Canadian.
No,
I saw this in England, right? It's been the same since as long as I can remember. And there's two things that fuel it, right? One, the politicians, instead of standing up and saying, this is what I believe in, this is what I'm going to do, vote for me because I'm going to make this. What they tend to do is to say, don't vote for Al because he's like terrible, he's a liar, he doesn't know what he's talking about, he's doing this. So they're always like propaganda against the other side. And both sides are the same. Right. I'm not coming down on one side or the other with it. Both are the same. And then the other thing that you've got that really fuels it is the media. And the media is disgusting. Right. And I know we're maybe being a bit
on
more
both
controversial.
Sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
On both sides.
And what they do is they'll take a video, right? They'll take a speech or something. And what they'll do is they'll take a clip out of it and they'll take it all out of context because they'll remove a part that would put a greater context on it. And they just play the bit that they can then say, look at this hatred, look at this disgust, look at this poor behavior. But both sides are doing it. And then you have some totally biased TV shows that just, again, incite hatred. And I don't know how these are allowed to be on the TV. because, like, you know, YouTube and Facebook or whatever may well like take us off for saying things like this, right? But they'll allow these shows on the TV.
Yeah. Well, there used to be a broadcast code of ethics back in the day, and we still have that in Canada, but those ethics have been blurred. The lines have been blurred, or definitely we're raise your bars. We want to raise our bars and be above and beyond and rise above this, but they've definitely lowered the bar in a lot of cases for what's acceptable nowadays versus in the past. But you have to think, folks, when there's unity, great things can happen. You know, and I was just doing a little bit of research, unity in politics beforehand, Googling some things. And just an example, here's a pretty good example of some bipartisan efforts that affected real change within the US and Canada, and that's civil rights. Right? Without both sides coming together, setting their differences aside and saying, you know what, the race shouldn't matter, gender shouldn't matter. Some great things have happened because of that. But when there's this disunity and there's this constant fighting, I'm surprised we get anything done in government, honestly. Like really in all of North America, I'm sorry. There's so much infighting and arguing, and they act like children. And quite frankly, Chris, and we talked about this before I came on, most government officials, if they worked for me, they would be fired for behavioral performance issues because there's no way I would allow my employees to talk to each other the way that government officials talk to each other.
And under, you know, in my company, they would be in front of the employee relations and human resources for harassment, right? Harassment and bullying. And so why is it allowed in politics, and why do the media fuel and basically incite that hatred in the public, right? And you know, I know I shared with you last week that I responded to is actually a Facebook post from the president of PAC Council, where it was a positive post, right? And again, it was talking about unity, and I was basically saying, yes, I agree with it, right? Whatever happens, whoever you voted for, we've got what we've got. Let's pull together and get on. And I got two people particularly from our Maxwell community being really hatred with their responses to me, and one of them calling me a traitor and accusing me of treason because I was talking about unity. How on earth is that right? And this is the way that people are living. I heard again a story the other day. You talked about families, but I heard a story where, you know, an elderly lady, her son has said, you can't come and see me anymore because of the way you voted. I can't even talk to you. And that lady was with her son a few weeks before the election, looking after the baby, the grandbaby. Right. How can that be? How can people do that and cut people off, Al? That's, you know, it's not humane. It's ridiculous.
It's not. And I think that's the part of the problem is we've stopped looking at human beings. And you know what? What's the golden rule and the platinum rule, right? And I don't think we are doing unto others how we'd want ourselves to be treated very well these days. And you're right, it is sad and it is heartbreaking. But I mean, so what are some of the things that we can do? So I got a few things here, a list, Chris, if I may. Some things that we can do to foster unity. And I think the first thing, before even I get to my list, is, well, actually, it's on my list. Be open-minded. Be open-minded. And if we, you know, saying, hey, okay, I can respect your viewpoint. I don't necessarily need to agree with it or even celebrate it, but I can respect you as a fellow human being who bleeds the same color as I bleed, who has a heart pumping in their chest, who has a family or a spouse or children and parents and a puppy and everybody else, who owns the house, who goes to work every day to work hard and earn a living and support their family. I can respect you as a fellow human being to say, I appreciate and I value your opinion. I may not agree. May not celebrate, but I appreciate you as a fellow human being. And
Yep.
we've lost that as society. If you don't agree with me, you're against me and you're evil. And that's basically what we've been told to think. And that's how people are now reacting to others. And it's sad
Correct.
and it's tragic.
Yeah.
John wrote the book High Road Leadership. Now, here's a true story, folks. So John Maxwell, Kristen, my mentor, he wrote a book called High Road Leadership. And he actually put another book he was writing on pause to write this book to try to get it out in front of the US election, because he knew that it was going to be divisive.
Mm-hmm.
And high road leaders do not practice disunity or divisiveness. They practice unity. And I think it's really sad. I really wish all of our political leaders would read this book and start operating as a high road leader. Wouldn't it be something to see a debate where they're complimenting and congratulating each other on the accomplishments they have, but like you said, sharing their differing visions for the country and where it could go and how they believe they can make life better for the citizens, versus name calling and abusive comments, quite frankly.
You know, there's a saying, united we stand, divided we fall.
Absolutely.
Right.
True.
And that's where I think that the unity should come in, and together we are stronger. And we are stronger because we've got those different opinions, right?
Exactly.
And we can look at that and we can be objective with that and discussing it and be open-minded, as you said, and said, okay, well, maybe I think this is the way, and then maybe I think this is the way. And we do an activity in our leadership classes that I wrote at Disney called Yes and. All right. And so what we do is we've got a circle, and we'll put a suggestion into the middle, and somebody has got to basically take that suggestion and build on it by saying yes and then it goes round to the next person and they say yes and so you're building on it. And what you're not allowed to say is but. Right. So we take the buts out of it. You can't say, yeah, but that will never work because, or but we've tried that before and it didn't work. So we have to be and so what happens as you go around that, everyone builds on it. And it's like the mastermind theory, right? From Think and Grow Rich, where you do that and you build on it. And together you come up with this spectacular idea that may be nothing like the original idea, but everybody's bought into it and built on it. And you come out with a much better solution. Wouldn't it be amazing if politicians did that?
Yeah, that would be amazing. Absolutely. That'd be great. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say to that, because it's a great concept. And I know we've used it and we've talked about it before, about using it in different scenarios and situations. And I think it's a great way to do it. I have a local company here that does sort of the same type of thing that I've worked with in the past. And if there's an issue or a problem, instead of everybody standing around trying to solve it, they get together in a group. If they can't solve it within the first 5 or 10 minutes, then one person is assigned to go out and find a solution to that problem and enlist whatever resources they need to find the solution to that problem, so everybody else can get back to work. And then when they find the solution to the problem, they come and they report and they implement. Yeah. And I think that's a great way of doing things too. Yeah. Right. Instead of having everybody standing around or arguing over what's the best way to do it. Okay. We haven't reached this. Let's go out here. You're now in charge. You go find the solution, report back to us. And that's how we'll move forward. Yeah. So anyways, one of the other things that I'm going to say on my list, and I have 2 more things. One is stay informed. Okay. Now, again, we need to have that, understand the importance of a balanced consumption of news, quotation marks, and really avoid misinformation. And that means that we're going to have to do more than just take what somebody says on TV or on X or on something else at face value. And we should really deep dive into it and do our own research and make sure we're also reading the opinions of differing views so we get a balanced approach to that. Yeah. So I think staying informed is so important, and people they hear one thing and then they run with it. Right. And that's where a lot of problems come from, actually.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's, and here's the thing, and I use this this in a conversation with somebody today, right? In any conflict, there's three sides. There's your side, there's my side, and then there's the truth somewhere in the middle, right? And that's what we've got to get to. We've got to cut out the noise and let's find the truth, and let's all work together in unity to make things better.
Yeah,
and to me, unity is an abundance word. Division is obviously a scarcity word, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And so we got to get away from the scarcity, because if we live in that scarcity, you know what? We're going to attract more of that crap. And we've got to get into the abundance and attract the good and say, we are where we were. We are where we are. Sorry. How can we make it better? Right? How can we move forward together and get a better life?
And how can I do my part as a citizen to bring the very best?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So the last point, listen actively. And I think this is a problem that a lot of people just don't do well today. And it kind of ties in with the staying informed and the misinformation and doing your own research, but actually listen to somebody. Allow them to feel like they've been heard. And I know in a lot of conflict situations, it's a misinterpretation of what somebody has said,
100%.
or it's me not feeling like you're actually even listening to me and being heard. And I think then that in turn causes that conflict and that division versus bringing unity. So when you hear listen actively, Chris, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? How do you actively listen?
Active listening is one of the lessons in our leadership training that we get the best feedback on. And it's the reason being is that people don't generally practice it, right? And so it shouldn't be a new concept, but it seems to be. And so what I always will say to the class when we're doing it is that most people listen to respond.
Right.
Active listening is listening to understand. It's taking time, it's putting away all distractions, it's staying focused, it's being present. It's asking questions to understand,
right?
And then maybe summarizing what you've heard.
And again, listening to understand, not listening to get defensive, not listening to defend, not listening to argue your point back, but actually listening to understand the other person's point of view on a topic.
Yeah, and I think that the technology has got a lot to answer for here, right? Because we live in that society where I call it the microwave society. We want to do everything. We think that, and a lot of people think that multitasking is a skill, and I'm a great multitasker. I can do all these things at the same time. I'm calling BS because you can't, right? Your brain is only capable of focusing on one thing at a time. So you may think that you're listening, but if you're on your phone, all right, if you're reading a book, if you're looking at your computer, you're not listening. All right. You'll hear snippets and then you'll make your decision based on those snippets and then you'll react. Right. Yeah. And that's not active listening. Right.
I'm laughing when you're saying this because I can't tell you how many times my wife goes, do you hear what I just said?
Exactly. Yeah.
No, sorry. Yeah. I'll forget it then. No. Tell me. I'm listening.
Yeah. I'm interested. No, you're not. Yeah. But it happens all the time. Yeah. It happens at work. It happens in families, you know, and I've not always been a good active listener. And sometimes now I catch myself where I'm in the middle of something, someone's talking and I don't quite get it. And I have to go, okay, stop. Yeah, when I've one-on-one conversations with people, I'll turn away from my computer. I'll turn my computer off or put my phone down. In fact, my one-on-one conversations now with members on my team, we go outside in the car park or we walk around the car park. We haven't got our phone. We haven't got our computers. There's nothing around. We can just talk and we can listen. And in 30 minutes, we get so much more of an understanding of each other than sitting at the desk.
Yeah, for sure. Because when you're in the office, there's I think too, when you're out of the office environment, the guards come down a little bit more too, right? It's not quite as formal. Anyways, we're at 23 minutes. So I want to wrap this up. And I want to just, I guess what I'd like to say in my closing remarks here is what can you, I want, if again, we're not taking political sides in this conversation. We're talking about the events that have transpired recently and are transpiring in Canada. But how can you as an individual rise above the noise?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How can you as an individual do your part to bring unity, whether or not it's your party that's in power or not, whether or not your guy or gal got in or not? How can you as an individual rise above that, accept the fact that, hey, this is the person that's in charge for the next 4 years. How can I make the very best of it and be a good citizen, be a good neighbor, be a good community person, and bring unity to my country?
Yeah. And I'll add to that, Alan, say that, the universe gives you who you are, not what you want. So if you are being somebody who is antagonizing other people, if you were being somebody that is living in that hatred and that negativity, sorry, but you're going to get more of that back in return. So it is time for you to raise your bars, right? And that is your behaviors and your actions directly equal your level of results and success.
Absolutely.
So be honest with yourself. And if your behaviors and actions are things that, if you saw that in somebody else, you wouldn't be proud of them, don't be proud of yourself, because your results and success are going to be lower than you want.
And my goodness, if you have children, what kind of example are we setting for our children? Like it saddens me, the example that we're setting for our children with some of our. Anyways, great point, Chris. Let's go out there and raise our bars, folks. Let's rise above the noise. Let's be great citizens and be good neighbors. And until next time, we'll be back next time. Have a great week. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Raise Your Bars podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please consider sharing it with your family, friends, and coworkers. We would sincerely appreciate it.